If you want to stop doom scrolling and spending hours on TikTok and Instagram, you don't need to delete social media cold turkey. You need to create new habits. I'm going to share with you 3 powerful tips that you can use to reshape your relationship with social media to make it more intentional and sustainable. If you're wondering why to trust me, I've been nerding out on this topic of intentional usage of technology for well over a decade. It started while I was working at Google, and over the last 5 years, I've been training teams at companies like Google and YouTube, Squarespace, L'Oreal, and countless others on how to approach their work and life in an intentional way. And a big part of this is having to do with technology, in particular social media, because we are living in a world in which screens are always with us all of the time. And I truly believe that technology is a tool. There are benefits to social media and there are drawbacks. And it's on us, the onus is on us as the consumers and the users to find a way to use these technologies in a way that supports our goals. And if you're watching this video and the last few weeks, you've just felt a bit stuck, tired, overwhelmed, or scattered, then make sure to grab my free 3-day focus and energy reset. It's linked below. It'll give you some practical tips on how to reset your attention and manage your energy. I think you'll really enjoy it. And if this type of content interests you, living and working with more intention, managing your attention, and building a more sustainable rhythm in your work and life, please make sure to subscribe so that you can get notified when we're posting new videos each and every week. And if you're new here, my name's Connor. I'm a coach, entrepreneur, and dad, and I spend my time helping others, specifically driven professionals who feel mentally scattered and overwhelmed, find more focus, energy, and clarity in their day-to-day lives. I think we're all addicted to social media in some form or fashion these days, and a lot of the discourse and discussion around this topic is very negative. We think that any time spent on social media is a net negative, but I don't believe that's true. I think that's oversimplifying it. There are tons of benefits to social media. I live abroad, and so it allows me to stay connected with friends all over the world. We find great entertainment on social media. We can get inspired and find new ideas and knowledge. For example, I love using social media to stay up to date with the latest news in business and entrepreneurship and technology. My wife uses it in an entirely different way. She's always finding new recipes that we cook or fun ideas to do with our 2-year-old toddler. So I just want to start off by saying that we can have a positive relationship with social media. Like all things in life, my true belief is that it comes down to our intention. How are we using that? So one of the first things that I recommend everyone to do when it comes to their feeds is to curate it with intention. If you're just constantly scrolling in a reactive state and letting the algorithm decide every single thing that you see, it can be a mess. A lot of the content that the algorithm is pushing forward, it's clickbait, it's there to enrage us or shock us or cause polarization. But at the same time, there's plenty of amazing content creators out there making valuable information. So one thing that you can do that's super simple is the next time you're scrolling, whether it's on X or on Instagram or here on YouTube, whenever you see something that doesn't align with your interests, unfollow. A mistake I see a lot of people making when it comes to creating a better relationship with their social media is it's very restrictive and negative. What I mean by that is they look at it as something that they really want to, avoid, they want to stop using. And so every time they use it, they feel sort of guilty and bad. And in a larger perspective, it actually drains your energy to restrict something. I've learned this in my own life, especially when it comes to my diet and nutrition. For years, I had a very restrictive approach, trying to not eat certain types of foods or limit the amount of sugar I ate. And while that can work in the short term, I don't think it's very sustainable for humans in the long run. What I found much easier to maintain was to focus on what I did want. When it comes to food and nutrition, that was, the right amount of protein every day, eating enough fiber, enough fruits and vegetables. And by focusing on that, it sort of crowds out those other foods and it's easier to maintain. The same exact principle can be applied to your usage of social media and technology. You need to start by asking yourself, what do I want more of in life? For me, it's more real-world interactions. And so my week and my days, they're built around that. I'm scheduling time to see friends, to go to the gym, to wander around a park. And the more I have of that in my life, the less time that's available to social media. And so my usage of social media is sort of constrained to the edges of my life rather than having these huge open blocks in my day in which I might find myself getting stuck into doom scrolling. The second tip is a really important one, and I have to give a shout out to my friends Jake Knapp and John Zaratsky, who wrote the book Make Time, which has been a huge influence on my work. I've been teaching this book and the framework and tactics in it to companies for the last 5 years. Now, I met them while working at Google, and they were product designers, and they have this amazing insight that I think has shaped a lot of how I think about my usage of technology. The insight is quite simple. Technology designers, product designers, their job is to make the technology easy and effortless to use. That's why if you were to look at Instagram over the last 10 years, it's only become more exciting, entertaining, and addicting, let's be honest. Your job as the human on the other side of that screen, if you want to reclaim some time from the scroll, is to put some friction and add some barriers back into the process. There are 3 little shifts that you can experiment with and see what works for you. The first is to remove these native social media apps from your phone. So whether it's Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube, you can remove the native app. And if you want, you can still access those apps on your web browser or on your laptop. And what you'll find is that the experience of using those apps is really downgraded when you're on the browser. And so naturally there's some friction. It's not as nice to use. And you will likely find you're not going to scroll as long. It's just not as sticky. The second is to create a more deliberate routine and structure around when you check these apps. So deciding in advance when during the day do you want to use social media? When do you want to check your messages? Instead of kind of checking them absentmindedly all throughout the day and then getting sucked in, you can decide for yourself in advance, hey, after lunch, I'm going to give myself 20 minutes on Twitter to scroll through, get some inspiration, and then I'm going to get back to my work day. That's totally fine, and it can make a real world of difference. Third way that you can use this principle of adding friction or creating barriers between you and distraction is to try some of these new apps and devices that are out there that help you do this. One of my personal favorites that I've been using, and I have no affiliation with them, is called Brick. And it's this tiny little device. It's really sweet how it works. You tap your phone on it, and when you do that, it basically locks you out of all of your apps. So for example, on the weekends when I'm going out and I want to be present with my daughter and my wife, I can brick my phone on the way out the door, and then I can't access any of the apps that I pre-decide while I'm out. I have to go back home and unbrick it. You can also set a schedule within the app, which I do. So it means my apps are locked out in the mornings and in the evenings. And so, yes, I can go and find the brick and undo it, but it just gives me a little bit of a barrier, and it's enough to stop me from unintentionally scrolling when deep down I want to be doing something else with my time and my attention. So those are 3 tips that I think you can use right away. You don't have to use all of them. Try the one that sounds most exciting and interesting to you and test it out. Now, I just want to give one more bonus idea that I think is really powerful, and it's the idea of a digital detox. Now, there are people on both sides of this. Some people say they don't work, they don't last, and there's other people that swear by them. I can only speak from my personal experience. Not only have I done numerous versions of a social media and technology detox, I've actually organized and led these for other people. And while I don't think you're going to magically cure your addiction to screens and social media through a weekend without your phone, I do think they serve a really, really important purpose, and that is that they create space between you and the technology. What I found most useful is to use that space to reflect on how I want to bring technology back into my life after the detox. That, I think, is the difference between a detox that's effective and one that doesn't really make any lasting change. So you can ask yourself, what benefit and value am I getting from these technologies or these social media platforms? When am I using them in a way that doesn't feel aligned with my goals? And then as you leave a detox, plan an experiment. Say, okay, for the next 7 days or the next 14 days, here's how I'm going to try to bring this technology back into my life. You're not making changes for the rest of your life. You're doing it for a short, defined period so that you can actually observe how it feels to have back in your life. And from that place, you're going to get more data, more self understanding, and more self awareness that can really fuel more positive and intentional change as you go forward. So, there you have it, some positive ways that you can shift your relationship with social media without deleting it cold turkey. If you liked this video, please hit the like button below. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. I'll make sure to get back to you. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you here next week.